Pretty good. I have to do that more often.
He's an amazing man.
Judy, go sit down. Yeah, let me see your phone again this week. A few announcements real fast. June 23rd is our monthly run. It's the Guns and Hoses 5K. July 13th and 14th, we are doing Break the Cycle Run. This run starts out in Fairfield, runs around Utah Lake, runs up on top of Traverse Mountain, and finishes at Willow Park. It's 150 something miles. We will get the map posted. Write down in the comments what leg you would like to run. Please only choose one leg to give people a chance to sign up. Once it gets down closer to the date,
Salt Lake, Davis, Cache County can all come down and
we're doing it a different way this year, assigning people their legs. Tell us what leg you'd like, then we will get you put down. It's not going to be put on the map like the previous years. It's going to be a fun run. Come on out, enjoy. If you want to, if you dare to, stay out all night with us. Keyword dare.
We do have a fun and exciting night, and we can promise you that it will be amazing.
And if anybody would like to help us collect donations for our Addict Athlete 5K in September, please get with one of your team captains. Raise your hands, please. We don't have sheets with us right now, but we will get you sheets. That way you can start collecting donations. Just walk into your local stores, show them the paper, explain a little bit about the program, see if you can help us out that way. I think that's all for my announcements.
all right, real quick, athletes that participated in the Squaw Peak 50 this last weekend, either aid station or runners, stand up. Stand up if you can. Good job. You can all walk upstairs still. That's so cool. The aid station workers, thank you so much. You were the backbone of those runners, and then those that ran, fantastic. I'm going to turn some time over to John Bozon, the race director. You got a few words.
Thank you to everybody that helped out and or ran. You guys are an incredible bunch of people. A lot of races depend on you guys. We depend on you, and that's you guys are an amazing bunch. And thank you so much. And glad that you guys were able to have the opportunity to come up and help. And I've been hearing stories about how it's just. I mean, I hear stories all the time, but this is what makes it worth putting this race on. Is the changes, whether you run it or helped out, that makes people's lives. So thank you so much. So appreciate you guys.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that.
And that being said, I think you're going to have a big race itinerary next year. Lots of folks want to run it now. So, and thanks for the helicopter. That was good.
I got a email from the park ranger.
Oh, did you?
That was an oops.
If you're going to break the rules, do it on purpose.
That's right. I didn't know until afterwards that you got to have a permit to let on the course. But anyway.
We know now.
Yeah, we know now.
All right.
Sometimes better to ask forgiveness than patience.
I agree with that 100%. All right, athletes, I'm so excited today. I've been spending lots of time with our guest speaker today, and some of you guys know David already. David's the author of a really good recovery book about life and healing and kind of awareness. It's called Out There. He is an ultra runner extraordinaire. He's done some pretty amazing things with his athletic abilities, but does it all under the name of the Superman Project and being able to kind of be a beacon of hope and light to a lot of folks that struggle with addictions. David's right when he says he's going to be spending some more time out here in Utah with us as we're going to be mingling as we are doing some stuff together with Mountain Peak, and I'm really excited to work with him. You start talking with David and you end up not realizing you're spending hours and hours just talking about life and recovery. But I'm excited. We're lucky to have him here today. We spoiled every second of his time to help out today, and he wants to finish his trip out here this time sharing a little bit with you guys. So we'll have David Clark come on up.
Okay,
All right.
I'm gonna put this here.
Go right ahead.
If I say any of those words, sound an alarm.
Okay, we'll do. Got kids in here.
You know, I never like go through, I used to speak a long time ago in my former life in the corporate world, and I'd always kind of carefully craft it and structure it and script it all out. I never do that when I come and speak to a group like you guys, because I want to make sure that I'm coming to you from a place of realness, heart, experience. I want to make sure that when I'm talking to you, that it's not just my words you're hearing, but I hope that you'll feel the love and the truth and the honesty behind them. And that's really just my goal tonight. I'm going to share my story a little bit. Some of you guys know it, that I've done some running and some stuff like that. I really want to share, how I made it here without having to give you the whole history of how I made it here. And I decided, as Blue and I have been hanging out the last couple of days, that what I want to do is share 2 days with you. 2 days of my life. One of them is going to be my rock bottom day, my ground zero day. And the other one's going to be the day that Blue and I met, which was out at the Badwater 135. And I like hearing him describe it because his description of what was going on out there is nothing like what I remember. This is all, he was running, it was so good, he was so happy, it was going great, he was having a great race. No way. But so let's go back, August 5th, 2005. When I think of that day, I think of, the first thing that pops in my mind is I woke up, which was a tremendous disappointment. And that's because I had said goodbye to my kids the night before. They were only 2.5, 3 years old at the time, but I stood in front of their crib or over their cribs, they're twins, and I said goodbye because I didn't want them to be hindered for the rest of their life by growing up with a piece of shit like me as their dad. And that's where I was. That's where I was in my life. My house was being foreclosed on. I was in bankruptcy. I'd been worth a lot of money at one point in my life, and it was all gone. So I woke up, and I thought, oh, damn, it didn't work. Another thing I failed at. Because in addition to the 2 bottles of whiskey that I drank that day, 2 bottles, 750s, I popped about 5 Vicodins or so in my mouth right after I left that room and said, worst case, I don't wake up, roll the bones. And as I laid in bed, I heard a sound. I actually wrote about this in my book. It might sound familiar if you read it. I heard a sound. It was a real sound, not the sound you hear like, where maybe you're driving down the road and, a voice comes on, it's like, I want tacos. It's not really a voice, right? It's just a thought. This was a real sound. This was a real sound, and it was heavy, and it was like a thud. It was like a tree trunk breaking underwater or something. And I firmly believe today, at the bottom of my heart, that was the sound of my soul snapping. Because I felt like 13 years still gets me. I felt like the entire universe was asking me to go away. That if I could die, if I could just go away, that somehow that would make the world a better place. That's where I was in my mind. That the act of me no longer being on the planet would make it better. Before I could spend a lot of time thinking about that, I started shaking, violently shaking from withdrawal. I used to joke to my friends that was the only exercise I got. I'd wake up and shake violently for 20 minutes. And I ran to the bathroom and I started purging blood and bile and trying to stop shaking. And I remember this so vividly, almost 13 years ago. And as I was going through this process of heaving and trying to catch my breath, I was 320 pounds. And getting up and down got me out of breath. All these pictures started flashing through my mind of everything that happened in my life over the last 10 years. See, even though at that moment the house I was living in was being foreclosed on, it was only a few years ago that at 29 years old, I own an $8 million a year company. And I used to see my TV ads. I was one of those cheesy mattress guys on TV at furniture stores. And my ads were on TV, and I used to see my own ads during the Stanley Cup playoffs. And my father-in-law used to clip my newspaper ads off and put them on his refrigerator and show all his neighbors. At this point, I'd borrowed so much money from my father-in-law that he wouldn't give me anymore, along with all my other friends. Borrowed all the money I could from them. I'd hawked all my jewelry, all my nice golf clubs, all the expensive things that I had were gone. I said that I hawked them so that I could keep the lights on and stuff like that, but it wasn't true, because I drank all my money away, and then I hawked that stuff to pay the bills. But really, I wasn't hawking them to pay the bills. I was hawking them to drink. Right? So the reason why those images popped into my mind was not because I missed those material things. I loved the material things, don't get me wrong. But it's what they meant to me. Because when I was a kid, most 8-year-olds or 10-year-olds are afraid of monsters or bullies. I was afraid that someone would ask me where I lived, because I didn't have an answer for it. I lived in the back of my father's pickup truck. You know, in the 80s, there was a big homeless thing going on. We used to, Phil Collins did a song, right? And we did music videos, and everyone talked about the homeless problem. What we never talked about back then was that there was a lot of families affected by that, and I was one of them. We lost everything we had. My brothers and I lived in the back of my father's pickup truck. We traveled from campground to rest stop, churches. And all I wanted, I didn't want a Sega Saturn, and I didn't want a bike. I wanted a mailbox. I used to dream of a mailbox with our family name on it. And I could say, we live at whatever number's on that mailbox. I was afraid that someone was going to come and take me from my parents if they found out that we were living on the road, on the street. That's what I was afraid of. So all those things that I had gotten, the material success that I had acquired in my life, was supposed to be the validation to make me happy. And it didn't. How could I go from where I was the whole time thinking if I could just be normal, if I could be connected, if I could have some of these things that I thought everybody else in the world had, then I would be happy. And I had them, and I still ended up here. What happened? After my family, we got back on our feet a little bit. I went to work when I was old enough. We got off the road. We all chipped in. We were a really tight, close family. I started chasing this idea of normalcy. Right? I was like, my problem is, I've always viewed the world as everybody else and then me. And there was pretty good justification for thinking that, right? I'm pretty sure that I'm the only person in the golf course community that I live in Boulder, Colorado. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person in that community that really knows what broke is. I think they and I have a very different opinion of what a bad day is, right? So I decided I'd drop the roots in Colorado. And spending that much time on the road, I lost a lot of my conventional education as well. I could read. I read prolifically. I just read everything I could get my hands on. I had that. So I went and I got a GED, dropped my roots in Colorado, worked my way through getting a GED. That made me feel pretty good. Transferred to a community college, took a bunch of remedial math courses and stuff like that, and then eventually transferred to the University of Colorado. Dean's List, 4.0, graduated. Took the MCATs. Couldn't decide if I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer, so I took both tests. I took the LSATs and I took the MCATs. Finished both in the 90 percentile. Who'd have thought that? All the while I was going to college, I took a part-time job selling mattresses. Turns out I was pretty good at that. Addicts make great clothes.
Yeah, right?
Everyone's in sales, right? Just most people are really shitty at it. I made 6 figures when I was in college selling mattresses. It's pretty weird. Pretty weird. Got married. Fell in love. Was I happy? In fact, I was miserable. There was a growing discontent in my life. I didn't understand why I wasn't happy, why I'm getting all these things that I was led to believe that would make me happy, but yet I'm drinking like a maniac. My weight's starting to balloon. I'm starting to eat out of control. I'm starting to do all these things, and I didn't understand it. But I blew it off, you know? That happiness is just right around the corner. I'm going to find it. Making 6 figures wasn't enough. I wasn't happy, so I wasn't doing something right? So I figured I'm going to go all in. My wife was pregnant with the twins. I quit my job, which everyone in my family was really happy about. Because I was supporting my family. So. And I invested it all, took everything I had, everything I made, and I bought I actually bought the chain of furniture stores that I had been putting out of business as an employee for the last few years. Bought it. You can buy a failing company really cheap if you ever want to buy one. By the way, if it's losing money, you can buy it cheap, and I did. But it cost me everything I had. 6 figures didn't make me happy, but you know what? 7 figures didn't either. Wild success, all of the accolades. Serta came in, so we were a Serta retailer. Sent all their executives out. What are those guys doing in Colorado? These guys are sharp. They got their shit together, man. They know what's going on. I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. I told Blue today when we were talking that I remember walking out into my driveway at about 3 a.m. Piss drunk, of course. Looking around all the nice houses and thinking, I thought highly of myself. You ever seen that? An alcoholic who thought highly of himself? Yeah, I got some problems. I might be 320 pounds and an alcoholic, but I got my shit together other than that, And this idea that, I thought the reason I was successful in business, the reason why I did well in college, the reason why I did well in other things was because I was smart. But yet I'm standing out here in my driveway and I'm like, everybody in every one of these houses is asleep, peacefully. I'm going to wake up tomorrow, I'm going to have breakfast. I'm going to wake up hungover, hating myself. I'm going to wake up and look in the mirror and go, what the fuck's wrong with you, Dave? Get your shit together, man. Because I was really good at doing the things I wanted to do. That made me good in business because I wanted to do good in business. I was good in school because I wanted to do good in school, but I was really bad at doing anything I didn't want to do. And what I didn't want to do was not drink. So as it does, it all comes crashing down eventually, right? And the partying, the success, that never really was that, but I did a pretty good job of being able to present it as that. Came crashing down on me. I had burned every single bridge I could. I did the math one time that I quit every single day for, I think, 10 years. I think that was about 4,000 times that I promised myself, my wife, a friend, someone that I would get better, only to, by noon, throw it all away. I couldn't take out the trash. I couldn't get enough leverage on myself to take out the damn trash. Where I was. It hated me, right? That was my last day of drinking. As I was vomiting on the floor, I fell back into the wall behind me. I tried to stand up, got lightheaded, fell back into the wall. And I looked up, and I just said, help. Help. I didn't know who I was saying it to. And I wish I could say the sky opened up and the rainbows aligned. And I've been happy ever since. That's where it went, but that's not what it was like. I carried that with me. I stood up and I said, you've got it all wrong. I don't know how, but you've got it all wrong. There's something you're not seeing. First time I met Blue was out of Badwater. After I got sober, and I'm going to circle back to that. But after I got sober, I do what addicts do, right? I threw myself into something wholeheartedly and compulsively, right? I started running. I started, taking health seriously. I went all in. I ran a marathon. I lost 160 pounds. I ran an ultramarathon. These were good things, right? I felt good about myself. I was establishing a relationship with myself again. Like, hey, I remember after I finished my first marathon, I was like, I just went out and willingly inflicted pain on myself for 5 hours. Do you know what length I would go to not be uncomfortable for 5 minutes? And when I got into bad water, man, I went all in on bad water. I went all in. Like, I didn't go out there to finish it. I'm not ashamed to say I went out there to win that damn thing.
Brilliant.
And I did the training to support that. I ran 50 milers in 7 weeks building up to Badwater. I'd started winning in other races that I was doing, which was ridiculous. I just couldn't even believe it. And I think I knew 3 steps into Badwater that it wasn't going to be my day. By mile 17, I'd lost 10 pounds. I was literally falling down into the road. Couldn't keep myself on my feet. My body was trying to shut down so hard that I would lower myself to the ground. And then I would freak out and jump up and start running, having a total panic attack. And it was just, this is unbelievable. This is the worst race of my life. I've run, I think I'd run 500 or 600 milers at that point, and I had a pretty good idea what to expect, and it wasn't this. Your crew's supposed to talk you into staying in the race, right? Mine was pretty much talking me into quitting. They're like, I'm worried about you. But the stakes were high in my mind because no race defines my sobriety. I don't have anything to prove. I know that. But what I did have to prove to myself is that I can't quit this race that I said was so important to me. That if I ever got the chance to go to the Badwater 135, it was really hard to get into this race. It was going to mean something to me. It was going to mean something special. And if I can't finish it, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with quitting 17 miles into a 135-mile race. So I kept going. And I had anyone who here has done marathons, ultras, 5Ks, whatever it is, you have lows, right? You have ups and downs in a race. We know that, right? So I had this kind of belief that things were just going to turn around, they're going to get better, and they never have. No matter what I did, I just felt worse, felt terrible. And this amazing thing happened. I started hallucinating at about mile 50. And when I say hallucinating, I don't mean like, you see a tree and you think it's a raccoon, that kind of thing. I mean the white line was spinning around, doing this kind of thing. It broke open, grew a mouth, started talking to me. His name was Desmond. And I was describing this all to my crew because I knew I'd want to tell the story someday, and I didn't trust myself to remember it. And Desmond was telling me some really fucked up shit. Desmond was telling me, you don't belong here, David. What are you doing, man? You're a 320-pound alcoholic. You're not a middle-class runner. What are you doing there? Get off this course. Respect this race. Respect the real athletes that came out here and trained for this race. Get out of here. Wow. I believed that voice for a long time. And I decided I was going to quit. I just decided I'm out. I'm out. I can't do it, man. I'm shutting down. I'm hallucinating. I'm freaking out. I'm literally falling on the ground, sleeping for 10 seconds, jumping up and running. Like, the panic that was building up inside was just insane. It must have been hilarious, God watching this, right? Like, look at this guy. So the only thing I do, and the internal negotiations that go on when you're an addict, they get stronger when you become an ultra runner. The arguments change a little bit. So my goal had become from, certainly not going to win, now I'm not going to finish. Now I just need to get far enough down the road that my quitting is is not as embarrassing as if I quit here, right? That was my negotiation with myself. Well, if I can get up to Panamint, I'll quit there, you know. I call this race, my experience there, the race, like, if you believe you're going to come back, right, that there's hope, if you have hope, it's easy to keep going, right? It might be hard, you might need some pain, but if you have hope, you keep going, right? That's what hope is. I didn't have any hope anymore. So the thought that I decided to grab onto was, can you keep moving even with no hope? Can you find enough reason to keep going even knowing you're not going to finish this race? The answer is yes, I could. And a new spark came in, and I stopped thinking about the finish line. And I stopped thinking about pressure or any of that kind of shit. I started fighting back against those voices telling me that I didn't belong here. Fuck you. I belong here. I hope no one's offended by my language. Something tells me you're not. I started fighting just a little bit. I started falling asleep while I was running. My crew would pull on the back of my jacket. Wake me up, you're going into traffic again. Started reciting song lyrics just to keep myself awake. I started counting my steps, 1 through 50, and then 1 through 50. And then AC/DC Back in Black. And then Sweet Child of Mine, 1 through 50. One after another, after another, after another. I hit the finish line. My grasp on reality was so tenuous, and still is. When I hit the finish line, I stood there and Kosman handed me my buckle. Chris Kosman's the race director at Badwater. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be getting the buckle. I looked at my crew and I was kind of like, did I finish? And if they'd have come up to me and said, dude, get back over here, you didn't finish, we drove you here. I'd have said, oh, okay, my bad. I really didn't know. That's how out of it I was. So I guess the question is, you know, when you do stuff like ultramarathons, you guys hear this, right? Like your friends throw all kinds of crazy strength on you, right? Oh, I couldn't do that. I can't run a 5K, I can't run a marathon. You were born to do that, right? Start projecting all this stuff onto you, right? Well, that's what a lot of people have done with me too. Like, man, I wish I was as mentally strong as you are. Mentally as strong as I am. Shit. Kidding me? But how did that guy, how did the me that would not quit at Badwater, how did he come from the guy that couldn't take out the trash, couldn't go a day without drinking to save his family? How does that happen, right? It's crazy. A lot of people ask me when I'm talking to runners, especially, like, what's the toughest thing you've ever done, man? Is it Leadville? Badwater? Ran a Boston Marathon 4 times in one day. That's kind of cool. 48 hours on a treadmill. One day. That day, August 5th, 2005. That was the hardest thing I ever did. Badwater, I chose that shit. I paid for to walk in the park. Anyone who's gone one day without drinking and using, when every instinct, every cell, every voice in your body screamed out against it, and you still went that one day without drinking? That's what warriors are made of, right? There's some warriors here, right? Who's sober? I don't know if any of you have a desire to run Badwater, if you ever will. I can promise you, you have what it takes. I can promise you, you have what it takes. So I want to talk about 5 things that I got wrong. The 5 things that had to happen for that guy to become that other guy. Most of them are lies we tell ourselves, right? We're good at lying to ourselves. And we're even better at listening to other people tell us things that aren't true and deciding to believe them anyway. Right? First thing is, your DNA is not your destiny. Where you were born, how you were raised, how you were treated, what your last name is, what your experience in life is not your destiny. Not unless you decide it is. It doesn't matter what you've been. You're not who you were born to be. You're who you chose to be. I'm going to talk about it. The other lie we tell ourselves, that I'll dispel for you and for me, you're not a failure. In fact, you never fail. Ever. And I'll tell you why that's true. Another lie, you're not weak. You're not weak. Being an addict doesn't make you weak. You're not weak. You are not lost either. In fact, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Exactly where you're supposed to be. And you're not your pain either. Let's talk about those real quick. How am I doing on time?
You're good.
You're not your DNA. You know who you are? You're whatever idea popped into your mind at some point in your life. Maybe you were a kid, maybe you were 10, maybe you were 25, I don't know. When someone said to you, or you decided, I'm the smart one, I'm the dumb one, I'm the crafty one, I'm the one who always quits, I'm the one that self-destructs. It's not real. But somewhere along the line, you decided it was real. And once you made that decision, once we make that decision, then everything that happens moving forward, you choose supports my picture of who I am, or it doesn't support the picture of who I am. And if you see something that happens in your life and it supports the picture you have of who you believe you are, you click save. Yep, boom. I'm the dumb one. Just lock my keys in the car. Save. Signed up for an ultramarathon. Save. Just did something really good at work. I figured out that problem that no one else did. Delete. Doesn't fit. And the scary thing about that is when we're deciding who we are, say we're a kid, and you were told you were the dumb one, that you're not going to amount to shit, that didn't have a lot of structure to it at first. But once you start clicking save enough times, it gets really solid. I believe that I was born to be a 320-pound alcoholic. I believe that. I believe that I couldn't lose weight. That because I was Irish and brain dead or whatever the hell to put on it, that was destined to be an alcoholic. That's just who I am. And that was real. But we know it's not real, right? We know that we can change that picture of who we are. Do we know that? Do you know that? Yes, you can. We are who we choose to be. We're 100% who we choose to be. And there's a really big difference between thinking, hey, you know, I'm pretty sure even Einstein probably locked his keys in his car. Actually, I just read a book called Einstein's Biggest Blunders. Talks about all the really dumb ideas he had. I bet you didn't spend a lot of time late at night worrying about how dumb he was. There's a big difference between doing something dumb and thinking you're a dumb person, right? There's a really big difference between having a problem with alcohol and thinking you were born to be an addict, right? So your DNA is not your destiny. You can reinvent it. If every single person in here, including myself and Blue and everybody in here, is proof of anything, it's that you are not predetermined to be your destiny. Because I was an uneducated, white trash, little street kid. That was not my destiny. It's not my DNA. I said you never failed at anything, right? Sounds like some stupid shit, right? How many of you can think of a bunch of times when you failed at stuff? But you haven't. Actually, I would submit to you that you've succeeded 100% of the time in accomplishing whatever it is you put at the top of your list. So if you take anything away from my talk tonight, I want you to take these things away. That your destiny is not your DNA. That's one thing. And that you have accomplished everything. Every time you've accomplished what's at the top of your list. And if you want to see a great example of what will and dedication and determination and perseverance is, don't go to Badwater. Go to the liquor store and watch who makes it to that liquor store every night. Because I've never seen an addict or an alcoholic that didn't get the job done every single day. Now that is a group of determined people. Car accident, broken leg, I got it. I'll limp to the liquor store, right? My buddy Pete drove his car in New York in a snowstorm. The transmission was out. It only went in reverse. He drove in reverse in a snowstorm all the way to the liquor store. And got a DUI, which is awesome, because if you think of him backing up and the cop pulling up, and you're facing each other, that's just got to be a movie. True story. We always accomplish what's at the top of our list. The fact that we're human beings guarantees that. God gives you one gimme, survival. You don't have to think about that one. He plugs that one in for you. You're going to survive. You're always going to accomplish that. That's top of the list. Although you can even pre-program that, right? Fathers die to save their kids. Right? Soldiers die in battle to save us. Right? You can even override that programming that says my survival is more important than anything. So we have to ask ourselves the questions, what have we chosen to put at the top of our list? Because that's the real trick, right? Is a lot of times we're not aware of what we put at the top of the list. We put weird shit there, or we let it just climb up to there on its own. But make no mistake, you have the will, you have the determination. You've not failed. We determine what failure is. Do you know that if you go get on your computer and look up what failure, there's no static definition of it. You don't look it up and it says, bad water less than 36 hours. Failed. That's the definition of failure. DNF. See DNF report. Squapping 50. It's not. I choose what failure is. You choose what failure is. You also choose what success is. If I say, I'm going to get on a treadmill and I'm going to run for 5 minutes as fast as I can, and I run 1 mile, 5 minutes. If I make failure or success running 1.25 miles, I just experienced failure. If I put success as 4.75 miles, I've experienced success. What's changed? Nothing. The act itself didn't change. Only my expectation. I created the failure where there was none. So when we start paying attention to what we put at the top of the list, we start succeeding. And instead of determining successes by some arbitrary timeline, deadline, we get it more process-oriented. Like every day that I drink or I don't drink or use, that's success. That's the best day of my life. Every day that I take an action to make myself a better human being, that's success. Failure's going backwards. And sometimes we go backwards and we redefine that too. Once again, I get to choose. You're not weak. You're not weak. You're strong. We're so strong. Once again, the fact that we're human beings makes us strong. We are the ultimate survival machine, biologically. There's never been a machine created. No computer that has our capacity. There's no animal that's ever lived that can outrun a human being, since we're talking about running. They can run faster, top speed, not distance. You're a survival. You can sweat. You can live in extreme heat. You can live in extreme cold. You can live at high altitude. You can live at low altitude. You're actually giving a body that can change and adapt to anything. You can go blind. You can go deaf. You can go blind and deaf. You can have your legs chopped off. You can experience trauma that you can't imagine, and you will still survive. You will adapt. What an amazing machine we are. We're not weak. The thing is, we're taught to believe this thing that somehow strength comes when we need it. I wish that were true. I really do, because it saved me some time. But it doesn't. It comes when we look for it. Just like recovery doesn't exist for everyone who needs it, it exists for those who want it. Same thing with strength. It comes when you search for it. It comes when you say, I can do this. It comes when you commit and leave no other option. You know how you find out how strong you are? Put yourself in a situation where being stronger than you've ever been in your entire life is required. That's how you find out how strong. So we're not weak. We're not weak at all. You're not your pain. 5 minutes? Are you kidding me?
Fast.
All right, that's it. You're not your pain either. You know, we have this concept that we're surviving in a really cold, hard, terrible universe, right? In that all these things happen to us. There's the weather, there's pain, there's trauma, there's heartache, and we just got to make our way through this cold, cold world, right? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And the things that you think have really hurt you, the trauma, the abuse, whatever it is that's going on in your life, humiliations, whatever they are, they never hurt you. They never touched you. They happened with Shell. They happened with Shell. They never touched the essence of who you are. The essence of who you are exists outside a different plane of all that stuff. The essence of who you are, the part that I talked about, has never failed, you know. That part's never experienced pain. It's just potential. It's just potential. It's never given up. Never been addicted. It's never even been discouraged. It's just the energy of who you are. All that other stuff happens to the shell. So you're not your pain. You're not your experiences. You're not the sum total of the bad things that happened. You are a living, breathing batch of universal energy that you can use to create anything you want. And the last thing I want to talk about is that you are where you're supposed to be. We have this concept that somehow maybe our addictions sidetracked us, right? Knocked us off our trajectory, cost us years of our lives. Doesn't work that way. We have this weird connection. I always say that my happiest day is the day I resigned as general manager of the universe.
Brilliant.
Because I was trying to control everything, exactly where it was going, and found out we can do that as human beings. We can actually steer where we're going, right? We've seen that shit, right? Law of attraction kind of shit, right? You can attract anything into your life, good or bad. You know what you can't attract into your life? Happiness. It doesn't come from the outside in. You can't drive happiness off the lot. Happiness doesn't come on a sales tally on your bank account. You can't marry happiness. If having kids made you happy, everyone with kids would be happy. Right? Being married made you happy, everyone who's married would be happy. Right? Having money, same thing. The only way we can be happy, as far as I know, maybe you guys know something different, but it's choosing to be happy for no goddamn good reason. And then protecting it and never giving it away. And the way we give it away is by saying it should be this, it should be that. When I got divorced, it's like, what? Aren't you? I'm writing a book here. She's screwing with my ending. I got sober. What do you mean? That messed me up. Because it's not that, we talked about the pain and the trauma and the divorce, the separations, things like that. That stuff happens as a part of life, right? You can't, the universe is too crazy, right? There's too many moving pieces, too many variables. You can't control what's going to happen. So the pain of the separation, the things that happen in our life, that's not the real pain, right? What's the real pain? That pain of loss. I didn't just get divorced. I lost the next 50 years of my life. I lost seeing my kids come home from college, or I lost his last 10 years to my addiction. I could have been head of NASA by now. But you're mourning the loss of something that was never going to happen. That's how we can take the beautiful moment of now and create a prison of it. So by saying it should be this. It shouldn't be anything. It should be right now. Have you ever heard this saying, how does it go? One day at a time? Well, you know what the weird thing about that is? You don't have a choice. You have to live one day at a time, right? The problem is how we get messed up is operating under the illusion that we can somehow escape that reality. That you can live in the past. You know the best way to get rid of the past is? Stop carrying it. Stop carrying it. It doesn't belong here. So this is the final thought I'll leave you with on time. Time is a human construct. This is really going to make you think that I'm from Boulder. I think the reason I've tattooed my body up late in life is that so people won't take me too seriously or think I'm a hippie. Time is a human concept. Animals don't know what time is, right? The cows aren't out in the field going, shit, Bob, it's almost 5 o'clock. What the hell were we doing yesterday, Seymour? They don't know, right? Stars, planets, mountains, streams. Time. It is actually a human construct. We don't even really know what it is. And the more we learn about quantum theory and physics, and the more we understand we don't understand time at all. In fact, time is not a continuous thing. You experience time different than I do. That's a real thing. You know that? We experience time different. It's not a ticking clock. That's man's attempt at measuring time. So here's where I'm going with this. You think you have a past. You don't. Your past is a lie. It's not even real. You know what the most unreliable form of evidence is, right? Eyewitness testimony, right? Can't even convict someone with eyewitness testimony most of the time. Although some of you might have been convicted on eyewitness testimony. I apologize about that. But it's not reliable because what our memories really are is the way we arrange things in a way that makes sense to us. It's not real. You can't even remember realistically what you were doing 5 minutes ago. Yesterday. Describe to me every thought you had 5 minutes ago. Describe for me your entire day yesterday. What did you do from the moment you woke up? It's not there, right? There is no past. It's an illusion. It's an absolute illusion. It's a lie. It doesn't exist in a real way. And neither does the future. Have you ever lived tomorrow? You never will. In fact, everything you have ever experienced in your life and everything that we will ever experience in our lives will happen now. It will happen in that moment. That's the only way that you have to experience anything. So when you let go of that idea that you're supposed to be somewhere else, or that somehow things aren't going the way they're supposed to be, get rid of it. Because you know what we do have control over? No. We do have that. So one thing we're allowed to be the general manager of right now. And if we put a lot of energy on now, and we make this a good now, make this a good day, tomorrow takes care of itself. Because it's a never-ending, never-fulfilled promise. It's all tomorrow. What you do today is what matters. So make today great, right? That's all I got.
Thanks, David. Always a pleasure, man. It's a lot to take in. I also know that there's so many aspects of what Dave was talking about. When we get too down and too hard on ourselves, we kind of forget that there's a lot more at play than what goes on in our heads. There's so much more stuff that we can do to make life so much better. It's just a little bit of courage and away you go. All right, who's running tonight? It's 4 of you. Like it's just a few of you. Oh, 5 of you. Awesome. Who's walking tonight? Anyone crawling? William?
Slow run.
Awesome. And then maybe just real quick, congratulations, Russell, being the youngest finisher of the squat team. Here for a minute. I want to chat with you just for a second, so everybody at home, all 12 people that are watching, can be impressed by your skills. Do you want to give us a little race report? Tell us how you felt and all that kind of stuff, man. I'd love to hear from you. Got to speak loud because we're getting chewed out because we don't have a mic on our camera today. So.
Ask him what you want to know.
What, I want to know, was it hard?
Yes.
What part was hard? The whole thing?
Yeah.
Or Bulls on Hill? I still am mad at John for that.
The whole thing.
Yeah? What did you feel like when you came around, you came down the road by that little lake, and then you realized you were almost done? What did that feel like?
I felt like I was the president.
The president? I would vote for you. We won't even go there. That's a whole other political, yeah. What was the, what parts were like, did you ever want to give up?
Yeah. When we got to like mile 16, coming around Camel Pass, it was really, really cold, and I felt like giving up.
Nice.
But-
At mile 16, the hardest part was still in front of you. That's cool. What did you learn about yourself?
I can do hard things.
Absolutely.
First place in my age group and a finisher medal.
That should might as well be solid gold, even though it's made of wood, huh?
Yeah.
I got a couple of those. Congratulations, man. All right, Dad. Come here real quick. Make you cry.
Probably will.
I'm curious as to what that experience was like for you. I mean, I won't get Mom up here because she'd probably swear at you still, but what was it like?
It was amazing, and I really felt bad for him. We left at midnight, and at Horse Mountain Aid Station, they were closed, and we'd lost all of our energy to shivering. And I called her at mile 16 because I could see the Walmart off in the distance.
You're in the middle of nowhere, and you can still see Walmart.
Yeah, and had somebody come along with a horse or a vehicle that was awake, we would have left the mountain and called John. I didn't think. I mean, I told Brooke we had a terrible night. I says I really don't know how well this is going to go. And if you look at my pictures, the ones where he's all red, there's one where he straight looks like a zombie. And as we got to mile 24, 25, the leaders started to pass, and John showed up with the creamy and give us some encouraging words that we were doing awesome. We were only about a half hour off pace from our marathon 2 weeks previous, which made me realize we really hadn't lost a lot of ground, but we'd climbed a lot more elevation and had a lot harder time. My mom, my wife, everybody was at Aid Station 7. That was a huge morale boost. We had some friends at Aid Station 6 even. Seeing people that we knew. There was a lady at 6 that would help last year at Windy Pass that puked her guts out for a half hour, and Russell catered right to her. She was there, congratulated him, and things picked up. We left Aid Station 7 energized and ready to go, and we looked good. My mom was like, I can't believe you guys look as well as you do for going 30 miles. We had a good push to the next one for our cutoff at noon. We had about 18 minutes when we got there to spare. And I told him I'd leave him alone and quit pushing him because we literally had all day to finish at that point. We had a hard time coming around the mountain before Bozung. He didn't know where he was going. And a lot of time in life we don't know where we're going and it gets hard. And all he wanted was that reassurances that we were going in the right direction, and a point at the hill, you're going up that, which I couldn't give him at that point because I didn't know where we were or where we were going. But at this point in the race, everybody that had started at the same time as Tyson and everybody else is passing us. And he seriously was the most famous dude on the course. Everybody that come by says, I wondered if we'd seen you, wondered if you'd dropped, wondered if you're still going and how you're doing. Lots of encouraging words. Guys stayed with us for probably 20 minutes. Coming across the saddle after Bozung, before Windy Pass, and drilled into Russell that he was the strongest guy on the mountain that day.
True.
Being 11 and being out there that long. Windy Pass was amazing. Everybody that was up there, we love you guys.
Yeah.
That was... I've run that aid station before quite a few times, and I know what it takes to get it there and to make it happen, and how worried you are. Where's Ryan? I don't even see him. It's a lot of worry on the aid station captain that everything happens and that you have water and you have enough food for the last runner. And that was the boost in morale that we needed to get off the mountain at that point. And for Russell, he knew his way. He knew where the finish was and what it took to get there. Our last 3 miles we walked. There was no run left. Despite what it looked like at the finish line when we looked like we were moving good and we were going fast, we didn't have it coming down that asphalt. It's the most amazing day ever. Most amazing week. And we watched Dakota graduate when I hadn't graduated. Was able to finish a run with Russell. Seriously, 5 years ago when we started with John at aid stations, I was in awe that people even did this. It's like, what? I thought the marathon was I thought that was the pinnacle of your running, if you could do a marathon. So it was really neat. It was really neat to have Russell push his boundaries and realize that as long as you keep moving, things get better over time. And it is all about perspective, like Dave said. In all of our bad times, we chose to smile and chose to keep going. I mean, like he said, it was something we chose to do. This was self-inflicted, but it was well-deserved and well-earned.
Awesome. Russell, well done, brother. Don, thanks for... You can definitely do hard things. Athletes, who am I? I'm the champion. Thank you for coming tonight.